from bronze to mythic. If I could only open some rares.
That's freaking terrible.
But we'll work hard to solve the format.
7 wins.
And I'm sure we'll make it there.
All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the second of 2 special episodes of Bronze to Mythic, adjacent to the Pro Tour. Phyrexia, of course, I just played in, just returned home from, which was Paper, it was Pioneer, and it was all be one draft, hence why it's adjacent to Bronze to Mythic here. If you missed the last one, go watch it. From last Friday, I interviewed a bunch of the players on my team about draft picks and things like that. It was a really, really fun, 10-minute episode. Definitely go watch it. It was a lot of fun. Today, though, the Pro Tour is over. I am home. You can see here, Reed Duke, my teammate, won the freaking tournament. Many of my teammates requalified, gave Steve top 8'd. That was all awesome. Again, a full recap is in my Mod Monday episode, which is on my main channel. And I'll have an article on CoolStuffInc.com on Friday going over that as well. But I wanted to talk about my 2 draft decks. Of course, draft is a big part of this Pro Tour. It was 8 rounds each day. First 3 rounds were a draft, and then 5 rounds of Pioneer. Day 2 was a draft, 3 rounds of draft, and then 5 rounds of Pioneer. So if you did bad in draft, you did not do well in the Pro Tour, period, end of story. So I wanted to go over my 2 drafts, talk about them a little bit, because that's what we do in Bronze Mythic. We do lots of drafting stuff, right? So my first draft, can only be described as an abomination. The kind of draft where you finish the draft and you have this sinking feeling of what have I done? Draft started with, I first picked, what did I first pick? It isn't here, right? I first picked Skrelv, the, where is it? I first picked, where are you, buddy? I should not have it or something? Hold on. The legendary creature, this one. I first picked Skrelv, Deflector Mite. I second picked a Hex Gold Slash, obviously pretty good start to my draft, right? And I third picked the green-white uncommon toxic creature. This is the Slaughter Singer. So decent start, and then there were just no more white cards. There were no more green cards, and I ended up taking a few red cards. Things got pretty awkward. Got a few blue cards late, as you usually do. Pack 2, I opened up like a Volt Charge. Got past another Volt Charge, so I was definitely in red for sure. But it just felt like nothing was open the entire draft, which is very, very frustrating, obviously, at a high-level event. But the packs were pretty weak overall. My opponents all agreed that the draft pool was a very weak pool of cards. And the pack 3, I opened up Salvo. I got a late blue card or 2, and it was blue-red. And by the end of the draft, this is what I had. I had these playables, basically, and almost nothing else. It was one of the worst drafts I've had in this format. Blue-red is not a very good color combination. And you can see looking at the deck here, my deck doesn't really do anything. It's not really an oil deck. It's not really a synergy deck. It's not really an artifact deck. It's not really an anything deck, which is a very important thing to have in this format. Your deck needs to do something. It needs to be an archetype of some kind. And this deck didn't have that. It was just literally cards. And I finished the draft. I registered my deck. I built my deck. And I just was at first deeply dejected. And then I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to 2-1. I'm just going to play well. I'm going to catch my spots. My opponents are going to draw bad when I need them to. I'm just going to 2-1. I'm at the Pro Tour. Literally, I can't let this tank my entire Pro Tour. I'm going to 2-1. So around when I play against someone who's in red-green, they make a pretty wild bluff attack on turn 2, which is pretty cool. And their deck was not great, honestly. It was red-green, very little removal spells. And I just win. So I win round 1. Scrappy crappy, getting there. Round 2, I got destroyed by a player with a good black-white deck with White Sun's Twilight. Games weren't close. They destroyed me, and I flooded pretty bad, and I had no chance either way because the deck was very, very good. Round 3, I play against Ross Merriam. Of course, good friend of mine, Ross. And Ross had a green... Was it green-white? Black-white or green-white? It was black-white. It was a base white toxic deck. Pretty solid deck overall. But flooded a little bit in game 1 and game 2, and I was able to kind of just steal the win, and I 2-1'd. Somehow, someway, I 2-1'd with this absolutely terrible pile of cards. So I'm very, very fortunate for that. But good lesson in Scrappy Crappy. And you just when your deck is bad, you just got to keep playing. You got to make sure you find your spots and just try and eke out a win. So got the 2-1 somehow, some way. Went 4-1 in Pioneer to finish the day at 6-2, which is obviously a great record to have day 1 of a Pro Tour. And then day 2, come back for draft number 2, and of course couldn't be worse than this draft. I knew that going in. And draft number 2 starts out, and I actually first picked the Boros equipment. Let me find that one. The Boros equipment out of a pack. It was a very unfortunate pack, actually. It was... First picked the Bladehold War Whip. And the next 2 best cards in the pack were Rebel Salvo and the Pacifism. So 2 great monocolored removal spells, which is very unfortunate. But we had War Whip above both those cards in our pick orders. And it's obviously not a great thing to pass, whatever. But I'd be taking a card and passing cards of a color anyways. Took the War Whip. I second picked a Cinder/Ravager, which is with a rare missing, which is a great... this is one of the best uncommons in a set, I think, and one of the best cards in a set. It's a phenomenally good card. Doesn't play very well with the War Whip, but want to stay open. You can pass the Ravager. And then take a few green cards, Infectious Bite, pick up a late, blue card here or there, maybe a dose or 2 late. Don't really want to be blue-green, but I table a Tainted Observer. And I think blue-green is okay, as long as you are drawing to some sort of powerful cards. Blue-green commons can't win by themselves, but blue-green is pretty good at stalling the game and kind of getting you into the mid-game and finding your bombs. So if you have a bomb, if you have some high card quality, this can be a reasonable thing to do. And we ended up pretty high card quality. We got an Urbrask Anointer in pack 2. I'm sorry, pack 1, pick 1. Pack 2, pick 1. We opened a Mastercore, which is obviously great. And then we passed an Anointer. Got some late Trawler Drakes and another late Observer. And a late Thummingbird. Moved into blue-green. With double bite here, this deck is sort of solving some of the problems that blue-green has, where you don't have much removal, and you're not really playing anything because your cards aren't good enough, because we had good kill spells here in Bite and Mesmerizing Dose, and we had a lot of raw power. Obviously, Mastercore is very, very powerful. Obviously, Ravager is very, very powerful. Annoyance is very powerful. A lot of uncommons in this deck. Double Trawler Drake, double Tainted Observer. A decent enough early game. I played the Copper Longlegs, so I really needed a 2-drop. Take a block early because I'm going to fall behind. So I played the 1 Copper Longlegs. Played 16 lands and a Thirsting Roots, which Siggy was a big advocate for in the draft. In the drafting we did. Cultivator. Played Aspirant's Ascent here, and this is a card that's not particularly great, but played very well in my deck because I wanted a cheap trick. And then it also plays very well with my two Drakes, where I can play a Drake on turn 4. They go to kill it. I protect it and then untap with it, which is huge. That's very, very important. And yeah, picked up 2 expansions, draft went on, so my mana was very, very good with that. The Dune Mover, and a pretty reasonable deck, honestly. Not incredible, but I think I would take this deck over a redraft. We had a bomb rare, good high card quality. I won round 1. I lost round 1. I lost round 1 to actually a really interesting black-red deck. It was black-red, sacrifice stuff. The first good black-red deck I've ever seen, and he actually destroyed me. He played the 1-mana black Vat that returns things with oil counters. The Vat of Rebirth, and he kept returning his creatures and proliferating and stuff, and his deck was just very good. He played the Threaten. He stole my Mastercore and sacrificed it to the stupid sacrifice guy. He just crushed me. So I lost round 1 really bad. But I was victorious in the next 2, beating a Gruul deck, and I actually don't recall the deck that I beat, but won the last 2, so went 2-1 in missed drafts also, which honestly, I think about the result I would expect of this deck at a Pro Tour. I think our deck is definitely good, not really a 3-0 deck, could 3-0, could 1-2 based on your opponents, but I think on average this feels like a 2-1 deck, so went 2-1, and the rest of the Pro Tour, unfortunately, I didn't do too great in the second round of Pioneer rounds. I lost my next 2 to be out of top 8 contention. I won the next round to lock up my next Pro Tour invite, and I won $2,000 in 46th place. But overall, not, I would have preferred to do a little better than that, but still really, really good. So that's my 2 decks, and I just wanted to go over them for all you Bronze and Mythic folks, and doing a little Pro Tour coverage is very, very fun. Obviously, Reduke won the event, which is super cool. We had some good draft decks. I think Reed was 3-0 in draft, I think, at some point. We had Logan 3-0 in the second draft, which is great. It's funny because Siggy didn't do very well in the Pro Tour draft, despite being like 80% win rate in our testing house, which was ridiculous. Iggy's so good, but just had some bad breaks. And that was the Pro Tour. So super awesome event. Again, more on that in the Mod Monday that went up today, as well as the article of cool stuff on Thursday. Your regularly scheduled Bronze Mythic content will return on Wednesday on YouTube. And there are a few episodes left on YouTube to get back to my pre-Pro Tour leaving. And then on stream, it'll resume with the live stuff. And we'll be going from there, which is pretty cool as well. So we're going to see you fine folks later. Let me know what you thought of this. Obviously, this is a little different content on Bronze Mythic. Usually I'm just playing drafts or whatever. This is a little Pro Tour adjacent content going over my professional level events. And if you like this, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments as well. And let me know what you thought. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Jim Davis home for the Pro Tour. See you for the draft on Wednesday.